my good friend, about the nature of voting, and what do you think is represented by voting apathy among young people? Why is it that young people don't vote to the extent that we would like them to? Yes, yes, ma'am.
Well, I feel like a lot of young people nowadays aren't really educated on how much of an impact voting does have on our day to day life. A lot of them aren't aware that these laws and bills directly affect our everyday life in every aspect. So I feel like they should be more educated on how much their vote matters. Not a lot of them are educated.
Is educated on the vote and understand why it matters? Yes, sir.
So, I would like to highlight the connection between not only voters but politicians and policymakers. A lot of time there isn't very much connection, and that could come from one thing: representation. A lot of policymakers, they don't usually live the same lives we do every day, let alone look like us or dress like us all the time. So for younger voters, I do believe that um, they don't really see themselves in those policymakers. Therefore, they don't believe that their vote may have a large enough impact
Mhm.
on their everyday lives. So yes, sir, the
What
connection.
are some of the things that would make a young person vote? What are some of the motivating factors? What brings out young people? And the reason I say this is because I know well, you have to have, in some cases, you have to have parties. You have to have, when I say parties, you have to have rallies and uh, bring out opinion multipliers, musicians and entertainers and that sort of thing. What will motivate a young person to vote?
Well, I know one thing that they're not aware of with the political parties is their actual ideologies.
Okay.
Like when I've talked to a couple of people in my generation, I asked them, what party do you find yourself belonging to? And they said, well, Democratic. And I say, okay, what democratic values do you hold within yourself? And they really can't give me an answer. They just see, most people are Democratic. Most people that are our skin color are
Yes.
Democratic. And they see Republicans as just white people. So I feel like that's a deciding factor in like them voting. They vote to what they've seen most.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they just fall into that pattern.
Yeah, yeah,
They,
yeah.
they fall
They
into
don't
the
really do
pattern.
the
They become
research
Democrats.
themselves. So they just
The ideology. What's the ideology that, if any?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I would like to say, realistically, Dr. Clark, it comes with who you talk to and interact with every day in your lives. Because if your circle doesn't necessarily care too much about politics or care too much about what's going on in the real world, um, your personal influences may represent that same thing. So I believe that the youth, in order to get the youth vote, we have to start with the youth. Us being up here on this platform representing ourselves, speaking to one another, not them looking at someone older that they can't really relate with, but someone that's living the same life as them. I believe that that's how we can really influence and encourage voting is speaking out to each other and our peers and saying, hey, this is the world that we're going to live in if we do not create a change within ourselves and develop that unity and that connection in our own circles and push that outward.
Let's do this. Issues. What are some issues would you say are predominant issues with young people?
So, a big issue, in my opinion, is social media.
Okay.
Social media is one of the biggest influence as far as young people right now, and it dictates the next moves that we make. Even if we don't even think about it subconsciously,
Yeah.
those things that you see on social media will affect your brain and how you operate every day. So, the information that we're putting into our bodies is one of the biggest issues that I believe in. Not enough people are reading books or even watching the news. A lot of people are scrolling on social media all the time.
Becoming literate. Yes. And what are some of the issues? What do you see, Miss Abernathy? Yes.
I actually agree with him. A lot of political propaganda is on social media, and it does dictate what we believe in most of the time. You get what I'm saying? Like with the whole Kamala Harris running against Donald Trump, it was a lot of political propaganda getting pushed on TikTok, Instagram, with all these profiles pushing misinformation, but you wouldn't know it was misinformation unless you did the research yourself and actually did a deep dive into it.
But are individuals willing to do a deep dive? Because that requires work, and to do a deep dive at that point requires energy, requires work, and also I would think to some extent resources.
Yes, it does. And most people aren't willing to do that. That's why they just believe what they see on social media. Like it is our biggest demise.
Now, TikTok's a big influencer. Podcast. What else?
TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that I feel like pushes certain influence and propaganda to people.
And now their news. This is where you get your news. The folks don't get the news anymore through the traditional places. You don't go to NBC, ABC, CBS. You go to these social media platforms, and yet you all are saying that media platforms are not always reliable because there's one word that both of you have used, and that's propaganda. And why do you say it's so much propaganda?
Because there's just so much information out on social media already, especially with AI coming into factor
Yeah.
now. You don't really know what to believe, and you really don't know what is real anymore. So it's a lot of misinformation that's out there as well as great information, but it's really hard to differentiate the two when there's just so much influx.
Propaganda. How do you see the propaganda? Because you use the word as well. Yes.
Yes, I agree with him. And with most of the news networks, I've dibbled and dabbled in ABC, CNN, NBC, and most of these news networks are pushed towards one wing, right wing. CNN is more conservative than all the other news networks.
Okay, now do this, and I'd like for you all to, because you are exceptional individuals, and your exceptionalism is valuable, and I want to know what is it that motivates you and bring you into to participate in civic engagement and participate in political science. I talk first with you, Mr. Rotimi. What and you're from Tampa. You're from Tampa Bay. We say Tampa Bay, do we not?
Yes, sir.
And you're from Tampa, Florida. What is it that motivated you to become socially involved, to become a political science major, and to have that sense of consciousness that you have that you've developed over the years?
So growing up as a youth, I was always poured into by the older generations. They always taught me how important my word was, as well as my classmates and my peers. So what really influences me is seeing that there is a decline in giving back to our youth, and as well as a decline of our youth excelling. So I really want to be able to give back to my family, my neighborhoods that I've came from. I really want to pour back into those people that have came after me and the people that are looking at me to create a certain image.
Yes, sir. Outstanding. And I know you're from Houston, Miss Abernathy.
Yes, sir.
And again, what is that made you want to be involved in civic engagement and choose political science as your major, and to be involved in social development in our society?
So before, I would say like when I was in middle school, a little bit of high school and ninth grade, I really didn't care for politics at all. But when the riots started happening and the George Floyd, that whole thing happened, I started to become more aware of my community and how we aren't really represented as often as we should be. We often get misrepresented, and it's not a lot of people that are fighting for my people as they should be. So I made it my, pathway to become more educated with politics and civic engagement, get more involved in my community, give back to the youth, help out the needy, things like that.
And I know you're involved at the university in the mock trial. And how is that working with you?
It's going pretty good. We're nationally ranked. We recently made it to orgs, but we didn't advance. But next year we plan on taking it all the way.
The mock trial team, yes.
Yes, sir.
And that's outstanding. That's very, very good as well. Now, since I have you here, and I have a sense of this already, but I want you to talk to me about the issues which are most important to you as in terms of your own personal development, the political issues which are most important to you. What political issues stand out to you that's very, very important? And yes, sir. What's political issues become important to you? And do they parallel the same issues as other young people? Yes.
So as far as my own development, political issues, I would say is a big one is the funding in education.
Mm.
Um, just being a
Yeah.
college student
Yeah.
in general, those funds that I've been having come in, um, the politicians, the decision making, is making it a lot harder to receive grants and extra payment for school. And if I would like to continue my education, um, taking away books, book banning, all of the funding in the education system, I believe that that's really a determinant factor of my personal growth and
So
education.
yeah, funding for education. You absolutely. That mean
Yes,
that hits you
sir.
directly. Yeah, and that's an issue that that's being addressed nationally, and it affects not only African Americans, but it affects people, not only people of color, but the majority population as well. Yes, Ms. Abernathy, what political issues do you find as critical to you in your development that you find important?
Well, yes, I will say the financial aspect of politics also with the whole, cutting funding for schools and we having to get more money, them trying to diminish the Department of Education. And I will also like to say a lot of criminal justice is a
Yeah,
determinant factor.
criminal
Yeah.
justice issues.
Yes.
Uh, When we look back and we look right now, and so you're right now in the middle of change in America. I know when I was in college, it was a great deal of change in America. It was at the end of the Vietnam War, and a lot was taking place. And so now America's always going through a lot of fundamental and critical changes. That's the nature of democracy, and that's the nature of the political system. But I would like for you to, both of you, to address how you see America today. How do you see this particular presidential administration, and how you see America moving? And I start with you, Miss Abernathy. How do you view America today, and how do you view it personally, and how do you think uh, this generation views America? How, as a young political science person, how do you see the status of the United States today?
I think they view it as torn. We're not
Torn.
as
Okay.
united as we should be. We're always combative with each other, disagreeing with each other. Not everybody likes to see things from different points of views. They stick with their own point of view. They don't care for others' opinions. And it's okay to not agree with them, but as long as you take their opinion into aspect and actually try to get to know why they made that opinion, I feel like that defines America, being understanding,
Being understanding,
united.
yes, united, and you don't see the sort of compromise that you think that should exist in America. You think there are too many wedge issues in this society.
Yes, sir.
I can see that. And how do you see America today? This and when you view America, what is your snapshot of the American political system?
So, America today, I believe that a lot of the American citizens are starting to open their eyes in a way and realizing what is actually going on in the world. I did speak about how social media is um, a bit of a downfall for our generation, but at the same time, it has helped Americans really open up their eyes and see a lot of the things that are going on in this country that mainstream news platforms aren't showing. So I just believe that Americans are really starting to see the oligarchy that we are in and leading to, and really trying to use their critical thinking skills of how can we fix these problems and how can we find these solutions. Over this past year, I have been noticing um, a growth in unity as far as Americans just trying to help one another with daily tasks and things that the government or things that the world itself is just pinning against us.
Right, and you said, and both of you mentioned oligarchy, and not only is it an oligarchy, and it's one thing to have an oligarchy, but it's another thing to have an oligarchy which is incompetent, and you throw that into the mix, it becomes a very very dangerous a dangerous pool. Now, we understand the broader culture, but you are people of color, and I want to talk specifically about the nature of young African American students, young Black students, people of color, and their viewpoint, and people of color in American society today. Uh, where are young Black people going? Where are they going politically in the world today, as you see it?
I feel like we're excelling as we compared to how we were in the past. I feel like we're becoming very educated individuals nowadays.
Educated, excelling, moving.
Hmm.
In what direction are they moving? Are they moving more left, or moving more right, or moving toward the center? Uh,
I
because,
feel like they're probably more towards the left
okay, because
as to the right wing.
now you remember the woke movement,
Mm.
and how is that residing within the African American young people today?
The woke
The
movement.
woke movement, yes.
I think they're taking it into account, becoming more aware of things around them, and that it's happening in their communities. They're not as oblivious as we used to be.
It was used to be. Okay, yes, yes, sir.
Could you repeat?
Yeah, I want to know the African American. Where are African Americans right now?
So
The young African American, the young person of color student. What are they doing? Yeah.
so currently, I believe that the young African American students are now waking up and understanding that in order to excel from here on out, we have to be educated and we have to know certain policy and certain rules in order to combat and fight back for our own rights and our own safety. So I believe that we are becoming more progressive and we are becoming more, um, lack of a better word, smart. We are uniting and fighting against what has been diminishing our social gain.
Okay, you see that, and I can see that as well. Now, when you return home and you go back, when you go back to Houston, you go return to Tampa. What do you say to the young people in Tampa, the young people in Houston? When you because you talk, you both of you talk so much about your communities. When you go back to the young people in Tampa, Florida, what do you say to them about
Um,
politics?
I just I'm actually going back to speak and work with the youth as as we're speaking now, it's in the works. But when I go back, I do just would like to lay it out a little more simple to them because I believe that the news is showing so much drastic happening that it makes a lot of the youth turn an eye against it because it may seem like too much and out of our control. So going back and speaking to the youth, I would just pour into them and explain to them why we have to stay connected and united and the different factors we have to take into account when moving forward in our own community and circles, what's right from wrong.
Yes,
I tell them always ask questions.
always ask questions.
No question is a bad question. As long as you get educated on it, that's all that matters. Don't settle for one answer.
Right.
Go out and look for another answer.
Exactly. Politics,
Hmm.
elected office, running for office, having people, and you want to see more people in because for my purposes, I like to see more people involved in politics
Oh
and
yeah.
also running for elective office because I say you spend too much money, especially in in these private institutions that you attend, and get too well educated to sit on the sideline.
Right.
And so you can't afford to spend $100,000 plus and then go home and just sit on the sideline. You got to engage in some sort of political activity and be participatory. And civic engagement is important. And I see you both of you are involved in that, and you're involved in the issues and involved in the things which are important. And civic engagement, I want you to express as well on a local level, just as important as it is on a federal level. But local politics is local politics important to you in Tampa?
Of course, yes, sir. Local
And how
politics is
so? Yeah.
important because local is where it starts.
All right.
We have to grow from the inside out. So it starts with the small get-togethers in our community, speaking on problems that is going on in our community. It starts with going to our local meetings for laws that are going on. It just starts with the small steps because I believe that they want us to overlook what's right in front of us and just look at the big picture that's happening. So if we really focus on what's going on in our local communities and grow from the inside out, then we would definitely be able to establish change.
And I see that they want us to have a macro approach, but you're saying no, macro is important because you have to be refined and go into the local community and know the local issues which are important. Sometimes we see the broad based issues, but the local issues become important. Local issues, Houston,
Hmm.
important.
Yeah, it's very important,
Yeah.
especially in my communities because my community is made up of low income residents. And at this point in time, they're trying to take the funding away from their schools, but the schools are the main place they need to be pouring their income into because our children are the next generation.
Yeah.
They come after us. They need to be as educated on things that we're educated on. So I feel like it's very important to pour into those local communities.
Yeah, and at the same time, yeah, there's an attack on the school system, attack on the healthcare system.
Right.
There's an attack right now on education itself, the books. There's attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, in particular, in terms of equity for all Americans, equity for and inclusion for everyone, there's a big attack. And so the response that you have as young people, because you are the front lines right now as well. And so the response is needed and it has to be comprehensive. And you're fighting the response. You're fighting. You're at the vanguard. What do you do at the university to make sure that people know what's taking place?
Well, what I do is just point it out, a spade as a spade.
Okay.
All of those things are being attacked that you just mentioned, but
Yes, sir.
one thing that isn't is the entertainment industry. And the entertainment has always been used as a distraction, and just having these one-on-one conversations, what are you trying to do in the next 5 years? What do you want to see yourself as in the future? A lot of answers have become geared towards entertainment, and that isn't necessarily what we need as far as the black community or a nation in general. We want to be able to push the need to do something meaningful and purposeful for not only yourself but for others. So just having connection and conversation, intellectual conversation about what do you actually want to do and what change and differences do you actually want to make.
Yes. Oh, and you said the entertainment community is highly important. It's recognizable. It's right there in front of your face. Is what you see.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. And you see the same sort of things too. And what at the university, what do you see as important? I know you do the mock team, the
Hmm.
mock team, and what do you tell your contemporaries at the university about what is important?
Yeah, so we have a lot of intellectual conversations. Me, my friends, and my teammates on the mock trial team. We always converse about things happening today, what we plan to see in the future, and how we could change them. I feel like really just
Yeah.
talk to them, show them the things that are happening in our lives at the moment. It's nothing to pull out your phone, search something up that's currently happening, and just show them like, yeah, this is actually happening to us.
Well, in the remaining 2 minutes or so that we have, I want you to do this for me. Tell us about who influenced you along the way, because I want folks to know that you didn't just get here by accident. Uh, your influence, who influenced you along the way? Your personal, professional and personal influences.
So I would love to say, and it might sound cliche, but my mother is one of my biggest influences. Seeing how she came from nothing and turn nothing into something, and continue to do it all over again, even though the odds were stacked up against her. Just pushing and having that perseverance and wanting a better life for not only her but for me. That's one of my biggest influences. Just shows me no matter what I'm going through, it could always be worse, and it is worse for someone else. And I need to give my full and push for the ones that are coming after me, because that's really where the power lies, is in the youth. So my mother is my biggest influence.
100%. Yes.
My biggest influence, I'd have to say, is my godmother.
All
She's
right.
one of my key motivators. Also, of course, she's gonna tell me to keep going, keep pushing. But she also teaches me how to stay humble. Never forget where you come from. Always represent those that aren't able to represent themselves. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's outstanding. And so we have 1 minute remaining, and I want both of you to go out on a strong note. And I hope you'll come back and join me at some point again. But on a strong note, what message that you want to leave to those individuals who are listening, to the youth of America, in particular, that you would like to leave to them? And we'll start with you, Miss Abernathy, and then Mr. Rotimi. Yes.
A message I like to leave to the youth out there is just keep pushing. Don't feel like you're defeated. Keep going, because you can do anything you put your mind to. Don't ever doubt yourself. Believe in yourself at all times, even if people say you won't be able to do it. Say you will.
My dear university students, yes.
I would like to say that the world wants us to live in fear right now. So do not move in fear. Black privilege personally is taking pride in my race without the fear of persecution. So from saying that is, you know, time after time we have been shown that we have not been fear. We have not been fearful, and that is scary for us to not fear someone. So going on, no matter what you see or hear through social media or the news, just continue to do what you do and make the change that you feel like should be made, no matter who may try to intimidate you, because that's what they want to do. They want to make you sit in the shadows and not make a move or say anything. speak up for yourself.
Outstanding. That's beautiful. And again, I want to thank both of you for joining me. You're absolutely fantastic. You're awesome young political science majors on the move. We have one more year together. And again, this is Dr. Gary Clark. You can follow me on all platforms of social media. And as always, it's been a pleasure.